And you would be wrong if you thought it was Ja'Marr Chase, because it is not going to be Ja'Marr Chase. I have somebody else in store for you. So I've seen a lot of takes about like late round picks or mid round picks, or all throughout the different draft, different positions, and I have to admit that I have also done a lot of that as well. I don't feel like there's been a lot of stances made on first overall players at any specific position. So I wanted to go out on a limb, risk it for the biscuit, predict who I anticipate being the number one wide receiver in fantasy football in 2025. So if I told you that there was a guy who last season, if you extrapolated his healthy games that he played and averaged it out over a 17-game season, that he would have beat out Justin Jefferson as the wide receiver number 2 last year. He also had a top 5 finish in yards per route run for both 2023 and 2024. Weirdly enough, in 2024, if you include the playoff games, he actually was number 1 in yards per route run. He actually beat out A.J. Brown last season, and in 2023, he was right behind A.J. Brown again as a top 5 guy. And if you don't know, A.J. Brown is a top 5, top 6 wide receiver in real NFL. I know that the Eagles scheme's kind of wacky and wonky, and they run the ball all the time. They don't pass it enough. But you're going to have to trust me that anybody over a 3.0 is going to be more of an elite level. His separation score, his cushion score, all the different metrics you can look at for deep dive analytics were kind of wild. And obviously, because he would have beat out Justin Jefferson in 2024 last season, if he had stayed healthy the entire year, his receptions, his touchdowns, his yardage, everything is fantastic. So you got to realize, like, deep dive analytics, he's amazing. That when it comes to actual stats, he's amazing. Also, if I told you, especially once you find out who it is, that his targets, receptions, yards per route run, and also his yards per target are almost the same throughout the last 2 seasons, and considering that 2 years ago he was like a breakout player, and then last year his offensive unit kind of took a big free fall and a big huge dump, and it was kind of like a dumpster fire, he still was on the same pace. So what's going to happen when they have an upgraded offensive line? He is literally the best target on his team. He is going to be the man. His target share on his team in 2025 is going to be bananas and off the charts. He is somebody, because of the fact that we're going to expect, because this is real life, it is fantasy football, but like it's not like fantasy football. Ja'Marr Chase is going to regress a little bit. He is not going to be the Triple Crown leader again next season. There is going to be something that derails that to some extent, whether him missing some actual games, Joe Burrow missing actual games. Their defense is a little bit better. They don't have to score as many points. He doesn't score as many touchdowns. Touchdown regression is a real thing because it's so variable season to season. And when Ja'Marr Chase comes back down to earth this season, and this guy takes another step up, and this offense has to move up a little bit more and progress a little bit more compared to how bad it was last season, he is going to explode in fantasy. He is going to be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football if he manages to stay healthy. If you're thinking it's Chris Godwin, it is not. I do love Chris Godwin, but it cannot be him. So who could it be? It is none other than Nico Collins from the Houston Texans. The biggest thing, like I already mentioned, but to go into it more, the offensive line for the Texans last year was a bottom 5, bottom 10 at best unit. CJ Stroud last season did take a step back. It was not as big of a step back as like the NFL commentators and media pundits would have you believe. The biggest issue, again, wasn't CJ Stroud. It was the fact that this offensive play caller was horrible. It was the fact that the offensive line and protection was horrible. His time to throw was horrible. His pressure rate was horrible. His sacks that he took, the number was dramatically higher than in his rookie season. It was horrible. When we think about the fact that there's going to be an elevation in situation, you're going to have a new play caller who's not going to be calling horrible plays, who's going to have a more balanced outlook on how to run this offense. There's going to be better protection. There's going to be a better, healthier CJ Stroud. You have like the foundation for a legit number 1 wide receiver fantasy season for Nico Collins in 2025. The other big thing we have to remember is last season, he was tearing it up through the first, 4 or 5 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I don't have any notes in front of me. I apologize. 4 or 5 weeks. He had Tank Dell and he had Stephon Diggs. He actually had other target earners on this team who were legit threats. Dalton Schultz is not at tight end. They drafted Jaden Higgins and they brought over Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk, unfortunately, it's not really it either. Jaden Higgins, maybe he could be a great number 2 for this team. I don't know. We'll find out when the actual season starts. Regardless of how they perform, if they even perform to their ceilings, I do not care. Nico Collins is going to dominate the target share. I would be shocked, and I do mean shocked, if he is not getting close to a 30% target share for this team. He is a guy, whether you like it or not, whether you're a Texans fan or not. I'm not even saying that I'm a Texans fan, but when you watch the actual games, which I know for a fact, regardless of what anybody says, there's only a handful of people on YouTube and actually on NFL Live or ESPN or Fox who actually watch these football games, every single one. I watched every single one last year. I watched every single game 2 to 3 times. I'm not exaggerating. I enjoy watching football. I enjoy breaking down tape. I enjoy breaking down player profiles. It is something that I enjoy. That's why I started making this YouTube channel, because I enjoyed it so much, and I was realizing these people don't watch the games. They do not watch, because if they did, they would have the same opinions as me, or relatively the same. But when my opinion is player A is going to pop off, and their opinion is player B is going to pop off, and then it comes to the end of the week and player A popped off, player B didn't do anything, and then people wonder, oh, why am I not winning my weeks? Why am I not winning my championships? Because you're getting advice from people who are looking at stat sheets. They're not watching the games. I'm telling you, they're not watching the games. Pay attention this year. I swear on my God-given life, they're not watching the games. This is a long way to get to the point of what I'm trying to say. If you actually watch the games, Nico Collins is a monster. Nico Collins is legit. He is a top 3, top 4, if you want to call him top 5, fine, wide receiver in the NFL. I think he is right there for Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Jefferson. He is, you can interchange them pretty closely. He doesn't have Joe Burrow like Ja'Marr Chase does. If he had Joe Burrow and was on the Bengals last season that Ja'Marr Chase had, he would have done the exact same thing. Hands down, no question. But the difference is Texas defense isn't completely crap. Okay, we got to rein it back in. Get back into the middle. The point is, I'm shooting my shot. If Nico Collins can play all 17 games next season, he is going to be who I believe will finish as the wide receiver 1 in fantasy football. Nobody else is giving you spicy take like that. Now, what I'm going to tell you, do not run off and go draft Nico Collins number 1. Why would you do that? If he's going on average around player 12 or 14 in your drafts, that means that if you are picking at 12, you have an opportunity, even if you're picking at 10 or 11 or 9 or whatever, somewhere towards the end. But if you're picking at 12, dude, and he hasn't been picked, smash spot. You have a guy who has legit upside. Easy. Last season, if he had stayed healthy all 17 games, he beats out Justin Jefferson. That would have been wide receiver 2. Last season, man. Now I'm saying he's going to take the step up and beat out Ja'Marr Chase as well. Again, I'm not saying draft him super early in your drafts, because if you don't want to believe me, you don't want to throw your draft. That's fine. But the reality is, you don't want to lose in the regular season or in your playoffs because the other person has Nico Collins. You didn't take my advice. You didn't draft him. Again, if you're drafting 1 through 6 or 1 through 7 or 1 through 8, maybe you don't want to take the risk. Maybe you want to get one of the better running backs. I would personally as well. I understand because of the scoring potential. But if you are drafting at the end, Nico Collins is the guy you want. Maybe you're somebody who already has your pick set, and that is just fine. If you already know who you want to take in the first round, not a problem. Maybe it's when you get to your later rounds that you're a little concerned and you're not 100% steadfast in who you're going to take. If that is the case, I have other videos that will be around here somewhere that will be about late round league winning picks that I have done the research on, because not only have I done the research, but again, like I said earlier, if you made it this far, I watched the games. This isn't just coming out of my, you know what, it's not just coming off of a stat sheet. It's also coming off of what I remember watching on tapes and the notes that I took last season. Be around here somewhere. Hopefully this video, if you follow my advice, especially if you're drafting at the end of your draft, helps you not only get a little bit closer, but actually win your fantasy football championship. And then you can tell me about it, the fact that you did follow it, you drafted Nico, you won your league, and you can send me like a nice little comment thank you somewhere in one of my videos at the end of the season. I'll see you guys again. No, hopefully you guys will see me again real soon. And until then, y'all have a blessed day. Bye.